Well, here we are again. It's the night before Christmas, and all through the house, there's a lot of people stirring. It's the freaking Indy 500. But in this video, we're just going to kind of give you a bit of a preview, show you some of the things we've been filming the last couple of days. We're going to talk to Adam Stern from the Sports Business Journal. Yes, he's real. He's a real person. It's kind of interesting. And we're also going to talk to David Turner, who's going to give us a perspective on New Zealand motorsports. Of course, Scott McLaughlin has come on the scene in the most recent years, but Scott Dixon, the pole sitter for the Indianapolis 500, a huge story going into this race, and obviously he's very important for that country. But before we get into some of the talk about the race, let's look at the starting grid one more time, just for kind of posterity's sake, just in case you are tuning into this Indy 500 coverage for the first time. So front row, Scott Dixon, a new record for the pole speed at the Indianapolis 500, not an outright track record yet. He's still about 2 miles an hour off of that. In the center is Alex Palou, the IndyCar champion, and on the outside is Rinus VeeKay, actually in the Dutch colors of orange this year. A lot of people picking Rinus VeeKay. Inside, local favorite of row 2, Ed Carpenter, went to Butler University. He's a short track driver. In the middle is someone who's really quite a dark horse. A lot of people picking him to win the race, Marcus Ericsson in the center. And on the outside is Tony Kanaan, the 2013 winner, another sentimental favorite, and has had a quiet month up to this point. Row 3, Pato O'Ward, one of the best personalities in the series. In the middle is his teammate, Felix Rosenqvist, another driver that a lot of people are picking as a dark horse. And on the outside is the Phoenix, Romain Grosjean, who has been quite exciting to watch, but we'll have to see if he can hang on for 500 miles. He's never run a race this long. In the inside of row 4, two-time winner Takuma Sato is a lot of people's hot pick. In the center is 2018 winner Will Power from Australia. He's always strong, and he's the fastest Penske in the field. On the outside is Jimmy the Juggernaut Johnson in his first Indianapolis 500, the 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. There hasn't been a driver to win the Indianapolis 500 and the Daytona 500 since Mario Andretti. Row 5, David Malukas will be recovering from a crash on Carb Day. He's one of 2 drivers that managed to do that. In the center, Joseph Newgarden for Team Penske, still in search of his first Indianapolis 500 win. And on the outside is Santino Ferrucci for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. Row number 6, 2019 winner Simon Pagenaud. J.R. Hildebrand, who came oh so close in 2011, starts in the middle. And Connor Daly, who led the most laps in last year's 500. He's another one of the local favorites, local to Indiana. On the inside of row number 7 is Callum Ilott for Juncos Hollinger Racing, the only single-car effort in the field. In the center is 2016 Alexander Rossi, 2016 winner Alexander Rossi, I should say, who's going to have to fight from the back. Outside is Graham Rahal, again, a driver who comes so close every year to winning it, but has yet to do so. His father won in 1986. Row 8, inside, Sage Karam, who finished in the top 10 last year after coming from the last row. He starts in row 8 this year. Alongside him is Nazareth, Pennsylvania brother Marco Andretti, who's, again, another driver who's come so close but been yet so far from victory. And outside is rookie Devlin DeFrancesco. Row number 9, strong row here. Colton Herta in a backup car after a massive flip in Carb Day. Luckily, he's okay and will roll off from that starting position. In the center is Scotty McLaughlin. Again, we'll talk a lot about New Zealand motorsport throughout this video. He's in the middle. On the outside, Helio Castroneves looking for his record-breaking 5th Indianapolis 500 win. On the inside of row number 10, you'll find the two of the 4 AJ Foyt drivers. Rookie Kyle Kirkwood, Indy Lights champion on the inside. In the center is Dalton Kellett, who got his car repaired after a crash on Monday. And on the outside, 2015 and 2000 winner Juan Pablo Montoya looking for his 3rd victory. In the final row, Christian Lundgaard on the inside, Jack Harvey for Ray Hall Letterman, and on the outside is Stefan Wilson. So I talked to a couple of really interesting journalists who have been working the Indianapolis 500 this weekend. The first you're going to hear from is David Turner, who's a major authority on motorsports, but in particular, New Zealand motorsports. And obviously, like I said at the beginning, major New Zealand presence in the Indianapolis 500 this year. Not only do you have Scotty McLaughlin, not only do you have the pole sitter and 2008 winner, Scott Dixon, but you also have Arrow McLaren SP. McLaren is a New Zealand born and bred team. So, without any further ado, here's my conversation with David. So, the Indianapolis 500 has had quite a New Zealand flavor over the last couple of decades now. And I've got David Turner from Motorsport New Zealand here with me. David, Tell me about how important IndyCar and the Indianapolis 500 has been to motorsport New Zealand.
I think what it's done into this generation of drivers that we're seeing arriving here now is it said it can be done. So in the era when Dixon got started, some of the things that are in place now didn't even exist. But there's the motivation now for young kids to go, okay, Europe's not the only option, and we can debate Formula One until the cows come home. But it's said that there is a viable alternative. I think Road to Indy is part of that, as you know from speaking with Hunter and Billy Fraser and people like that. So it's just said US is a viable alternative. It's financially more viable than Europe, and that's a place to come.
So obviously you've got a couple of good little bullets in the gun for the race. Scott Dixon on the pole position, let's talk about him first. How crucial has he been to Motorsport New Zealand, and how great is it for you as a countryman, a fellow countryman, to have him on the pole position and have such a great shot in the race?
Well, for me, in my former life, when I was the sports producer at Television New Zealand, I convinced them way back in 2003 that they needed to spend 80,000 of their money to enable me to come up here and make a TV show. I then convinced them for the next 9 years that they needed to keep doing that, and then actually after that I left the company, so I really didn't care anymore, and now I have to pay for it myself. But he, again, same thing, opened the pathway to this country in particular, and said that North America is a viable place to come and race. The racing's as good as ever, and it's got better since he first started.
Yes.
I was chatting with Scott yesterday and talking about 2003 and the Toyota engine and all sorts of stuff. Look at where it's come, David. It's just come massive ways. Look at what you and me both do with YouTube channels and stuff now.
Sir.
You know, we're in a wonderful period of the sport.
Yeah, and that's something that's so cool, is that auto racing now is truly a global motorsport. Anywhere in the world, someone can be viewing you or I on YouTube or any other platform that we're on. And I think it's been a great thing for the sport to have this kind of cross-pollination. And one of the great examples of cross-pollination is having a three-time Supercars champion come over here, Scott McLaughlin. For those who don't know Scotty, you probably know him a lot better than most of us in the United States know him. How good is this kid?
Well, I first met him when he was 19, and he raced in a series called Super Tourer, which my production company actually did the television production for. And I was digging through some archive before we came up here, and I'll find the clip for you. And he said, one day I'm going to go places, you know, and it was like a little 19-year-old going, oh, yeah. Now, at the time, we always imagined Australia. And ultimately, he did go to Australia. He worked his way through the development series there in touring car to the main game, and then obviously connected with Penske. Never in his wildest dreams, I don't think, that he thought he'd be here at the 500. A couple of years ago, or around the 100th, I think it was, he was here with his teammate then, Fabian Coulthard. They were guests of Rogers, and I spoke to them on the grid, and I said, wouldn't it be amazing to be in the race here one day? And he went, yeah, you know, but look at him now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the crossover is fantastic. Look at Jimmy Johnson and what he's done.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Kimi Räikkönen's announcement yesterday.
That
you
was
know,
crazy.
But this is what driving is supposed to be all about. So it's fantastic that we're seeing that. And for our nation, it's tremendous. You know, just the fact that it proves to the next generation of drivers, if you live this dream, you can make it reality.
So what is your observation on the month of May so far? Who do you think's hot, and who do you think may surprise some people on Sunday?
Well, me and my wife, who you've met, always have our annual sweepstake, which is very complicated formula about picking the top 10. And I'm kind of struggling a little bit. I think anyone that was inside the 12 the other day, certainly in with a chance. I think Jimmy's in with a really good chance. And when you speak with, I spoke with Juan Pablo Montoya yesterday, and he really rates Jimmy for this race. Obviously, I've got to say Dixon, but you know, the thing is, Scotty's been there before. We need to convert this pole into another race win. I always remember 2008, and that was a dream year. You know, everything happened that year. So we need that to happen again for him. At the moment, I think it's wide open. The heat on race day will change things.
Yes.
And that will have a big effect as to who's really on top of their game and who's not.
I spoke to Pato Award this morning, and one of the things he said is they really haven't even run in those sort of conditions, and they won't until race day, and that's really going to throw a wrench into the proceedings. Final thing, and we've heard it a couple of times from you, David, you've talked about young drivers. Tell me about what you do for Motorsport New Zealand.
Okay, well, the Motorsport New Zealand Elite Academy, which is in New Zealand, is recognised by the FIA as a leading academy around the world. Each year we take in 8 graduates and we take them to a week-long camp in Otago, which is in the southern part of New Zealand, which is held in conjunction with Otago Academy of Sport, which is a high-performance sports institute that trains Olympic and Commonwealth Games athletes, and also the University of Otago, which should be recognised like a university here in the States. They go through a week-long camp there, and it's not about teaching them how to drive a car, it's everything other than that. They learn about how to put together a sponsorship proposal, nutrition. We have a nutritionist who takes them to the supermarket, and I know this sounds crazy, teaches them how to read food labels so that when they're traveling as young kids, they buy the good stuff, not the bad stuff, you know. We have a professional person who comes in and teaches them about mind, psych, and athlete lifestyle management. Someone that teaches them how to stand up and do public speaking and talk from here and all that sort of thing. So they get all of that, and then after that, the tuition goes on for the next 11 months. And within that, they have a range of tutor workshops that they go to and selected areas for their own thing. It may be that they need more fitness or strength and conditioning programs, so we'll tailor that to each person. And then at the end of the 12 months, they effectively then graduate. And as a trustee, we go through the performance of them finding the next date. And the academy's been going now since 2004. We've had 140 kids go through it, and that can be from rallying as a co-driver or a driver, circuit racing, speedway now, and drifting. So that all of that gets encompassed under the academy banner. And we've had 140 kids go through there. There are 38% of those kids that are somewhere around the world right now earning a full-time living out of motorsport.
Oh, that's fantastic. David Turner influencing the next generation of motorsport. Final question, I'm going to put you on the spot. You got to give me one name. Who wins on Sunday?
Ooh, you're hard. I'd just like to say before I answer your question, congratulations on your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
I've started one. I ain't even in the same league as you, and anyone who's watching this guy is doing a really good job. One day maybe I can aspire to be like David Land. For now, I'll continue to work in my former life. My winner for Sunday, I'm not going patriotic here, I'm going to go Jimmy Johnson.
Wow,
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson. Holy smoke, that is a hot take, but you're going to look really smart.
I picked Rossi on the 100, so I'll go for Jimmy Johnson here.
You heard it here first, folks. And one of the things that's major in this sport, maybe more than most of the other sports, major professional ones anyway, is the business of auto racing. And there's no one else who's better at covering the business of auto racing than the Sports Business Journal's Adam Stern. We finally got together. It's been so long. I've had so many correspondence with him. He's come on the channel before. We've done podcasts that are on other channels together before, but we've never met in person before. Here's our first in-person conversation, and we share it with you. Give me a countdown. 3, 2, 1. So I am so excited for this. It's been a long time coming. He's real. I could touch him. It's Adam Stern of the Sports Business Journal. Adam Stern, tell me a little bit about how important the Indianapolis 500 is to IndyCar from a business perspective, because it's enormous.
It funds the entire series. Literally, it funds the entire series. It's kind of crazy to think that one event could fund an entire sport, but in IndyCar, it is the case.
Yeah.
We're going to have 300,000 folks out here tomorrow, and all of them are paying a pretty good penny to be here. And so this series really exists because of the Indy 500. Of course, the goal is to build the IndyCar series into being big every single week, and that's the hope, right? That's what Formula One's trying to do. Absolutely. Is every event's a Super Bowl, but there's no doubt that the Indy 500 just retains this very special place in the motorsports place. And so it's great to be here. A very big crowd expected tomorrow, and so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing that they were able to do that because it hasn't had the marketing push of like a 2016, for example. it looks, from my perspective, and I'm pretty ingrained in it, that it's really been word of mouth that has almost sold this thing out. What's kind of your interpretation of that, and what does that say for not only the race, but maybe the series and what they can do to get some of the other races sold out?
Yeah, I think motorsports is on a high right now if you look at it. I mean, you look at NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, they're all seeing sellouts. Coke 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend is sold out. I've been covering racing since 2015. This might be the first sellout of a Speedway Motorsports track that I remember since 2015.
Wow.
Motorsports is on a real high right now. Yeah, I think Formula One, Drive to Survive, it kind of maybe started this, but motorsports is cool again, and racing is cool again. It was only a couple years ago when I was at motorsports business conferences and people were talking about, hey, my kid doesn't want to drive, right away. They don't have a driver's license. I'm worried about motorsports. All of that is gone. Now racing is cool again, and you've got also scientific projects in the work. You're trying to make racing something that's going to help the road cars again with the hybrid elements, with the electric elements. IndyCar's really getting in on sustainability with some of their recent announcements. So I think racing is on an overall high, and we're going to see it this weekend.
A couple of big announcements recently, just to touch on that. I think Shell said they're going to have a 100% renewable fuel starting next year. Firestone's obviously already announced some renewable alternate tires going forward. But I think the main question is, how does IndyCar capitalize on this momentum? Because it sounds like maybe things that we were hoping were coming down the pipeline, like a third manufacturer, a couple of extra races, maybe not happening for next year or beyond. What do they maybe need to do business-wise that maybe NASCAR, Formula One are doing? What is IndyCar not doing? And what can Roger Penske do to get this thing moving forward?
Well, look, again, racing is on a high right now. So if you're looking at IndyCar, you've got Romain Grosjean. You've got McLaren. Formula One last year did a study with Motorsports Network. Who was their most popular team? McLaren. McLaren is in IndyCar.
Yep.
Who is the most popular driver right now in IndyCar? It's Romain Grosjean. So first and foremost, you can draft off this F1 success.
Yep.
You can draft off that and try, and we've already seen it. I'm seeing fans on social media of F1 saying, hey, I'm going to go check out an IndyCar race. So we're already seeing that, and I think IndyCar just has to continue to market. You got to spend a lot of money. When you look at what F1's doing with Las Vegas, they're spending tens and tens of millions of dollars. That's how they're making this happen. So IndyCar's going to have to continue to spend money. They're going to have to continue to market heavily, but they're off to a good start this season.
Yes.
Long Beach, St. Pete, Barber, all had really good crowds, and Indianapolis is once again going to have a good crowd. Texas, of course, did struggle, but overall, I think IndyCar is off to a good start. They just got to market very heavily. They've got to spend money. You got to spend money to make money, and I think that's what they're looking at right now.
So let's look ahead to tomorrow. Really the biggest day in racing. You've got the Monaco Grand Prix, you've got the Indianapolis 500, you've got the Coke 600. What is your interpretation of what we've been seeing here this month and maybe what will happen in the race? I'm not asking you to pick yet. We're going to ask that at the end. But this race, crowd, and the impact on Indianapolis as a city.
It's crazy because talking to the IndyCar and IMS executives, this is the best attended race we'll have in 20 years outside of 2016.
Yes.
We know the marketing push in 2016 was insane with the 100th running. Yeah. So again, you're seeing a really good crowd here want to come out. And so I think it's going to be this incredible day for motorsports. NASCAR, this is the first time they've had this race sold out in quite some time. So, Monaco, of course, Monaco is what it is. Not a lot of passing. They're going to have an incredible event out there as well. A lot going on with them with trying to get a new deal between Liberty Media and Monaco, so that's something to keep an eye on. But overall, again, motorsports is just on a high right now, and so it should be a great day.
And Monaco will be on ABC. That was something, and I guess we should talk about that, was the TV rating for Miami. It was really good for Formula One in the United States. I guess before we get back to Indianapolis, how crazy has it been to see the growth of Formula One in this country? What's the secret sauce? How'd they figure it out?
It's been insane. We just spoke with Burke Magnus, the president of program at ESPN this week, and he was the one who set up the deal for ESPN to come back with F1 from NBC Sports, and even he couldn't believe all the growth they have seen. The secret sauce has been a combination of Netflix and ESPN. ESPN has this very broad exposure. We know that the races are live, there's no commercials, and then you look at what Netflix did. Everyone was stuck at home during the pandemic, looking for something to do. Let me check out Drive to Survive, and the sexy car brands, the sexy cars, it's all kind of combined. Formula One has really kind of created their own luck. Yep. They put themselves in the position to benefit from some societal changes, and those societal changes have happened.
Yes.
And so now they are benefiting from it. So it really has been fascinating. And again, I think it's good for racing overall. You look at how IndyCar is the premier open wheel racing in America.
Yes.
That is an opportunity big time. And even for NASCAR. NASCAR says, hey, look, you want your open wheel racing that the cars can't touch each other? Go get that in IndyCar and F1. You want your full contact American sport? Come to us. So there's opportunities for everybody to draft off this.
All right, 33 drivers, 500 miles tomorrow. Who you got?
Well, it would be fun to say Jimmy Johnson, but I'd rather say Joseph Newgarden. I think he's been so close, and he's such a great driver. He's already won the IndyCar championship, and he's never won this race. It seems like it's his time.
I'll tell you, the media guys would definitely like. I know you and I would love Jimmy to win, but I think I agree. Joseph is very hungry, and Penske's been very quiet this month. That's been the thing that's been very interesting to me. And generally speaking, when they're quiet but not necessarily slow, that means they're going to be quick in the race. Adam Stern, Sports Business Journal. You're probably already following him on Twitter, but you should anyway, and read his articles. One of the best journalists out there. I'm so glad to have him on the channel, and thank you for coming on, Adam.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
And finally, got to talk about the race. Obviously, I have already kind of mentioned who my pick is. Alex Palou is my pick. The IndyCar champion, finished second last year, learned how to win the race from one of the best, Helio Castroneves. It's harder to pick this race this year, in my opinion. I think there's so much unpredictability with the weather. The weather is going to be the unpredictable element in this race. They haven't practiced in hot conditions all month long, and all of a sudden it's going to be 85 degrees and sunny for the Indianapolis 500. So it could be a total crapshoot. It's going to be guys maybe guessing on the setup. It may be experience. It may be, does your car work in traffic? I think that's going to be a major, major key, especially for guys like Helio Castroneves who are going to be coming from like 27th spot on the grid. Helio, as Kyle, my cameraman, keeps pointing out to me, it's his pick to win. He's picking him this year, so if Helio wins and you get him at 50-1, thank Kyle, because it seems like Helio's got a really strong car in traffic. The thing that I don't trust is the fact that he's starting in the back. You saw Simon Pagenaud last year start in the back. He got to third place, but didn't quite get to first. However, I do think with the hot conditions, the unpredictability, and all those guys starting in the back, I think we're going to see more yellows than 2 last year. I don't think we'll see a record pace, which it was a record pace last year, breaking up the 190-mile-an-hour barrier for the 500 miles. What else? Well, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments section below. There's so many storylines. There's so many different drivers who could win this race. It's almost here. It's Christmas Eve. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting my content throughout this month of May. I hope you've enjoyed it. And obviously, we'll be here to break down everything that happens tomorrow in the greatest spectacle in racing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.